Have you ever been in a moment where all eyes turned to you and you didn't feel ready? Not because you lacked experience or knowledge, but because something inside you whispered, "Who am I to lead right now?" Leadership isn't just about knowing the right steps, and mental toughness isn't about being unshakable. Both start way deeper than that with the stories we tell ourselves when the pressure hits. The truth is, stepping into your power doesn't feel like a superhero moment. It often feels like quiet resistance against fear, against self doubt, against the urge to shrink. And mental toughness, it's not a hard shell, it's the strength to stay soft and honest and steady when everything else is shaking. This episode is about both leadership as a mindset and toughness as something you build moment by moment. Hey, I'm Jeanette. Thanks for being here. Today we're talking about two things that are easy to admire in other people, but tricky as hell to figure out in ourselves: leadership and mental toughness. It's wild how often they show up together. One minute you're just trying to keep your head above water, and the next someone's looking to you for direction. Or maybe you are the one who raised your hand. Either way, that moment can be equal parts empowering and terrifying. Stepping into your power isn't always a grand, dramatic move. Sometimes it's just choosing to show up a little bit more fully, even when you're tired, even when you're second guessing yourself, even when your inner critic is throwing a full on tantrum. And mental toughness, it's not about pretending things don't bother you. It's about staying present, thoughtful, and steady when the pressure's on. It's resilience with range. So that's where we're going today. No pep talks, no just push through cliches, just a real conversation about what it looks like to lead from the inside out, even when things feel uncertain. So let's get into it. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we're going to talk about what it actually means to step into your power. Not the glossy version, the real awkward, brave version that usually starts with doubt and discomfort. Then we'll get into the mental game, the mindset shifts that make leadership sustainable, because power without perspective burns out real fast. From there, we're going to talk about emotional endurance, how to stay calm, clear, and grounded when the pressure ramps up or things feel personal. This is where mental toughness really gets tested. And finally, we're going to zoom in on the small stuff, the daily habits and quiet choices that slowly build that inner strength. No hacks, just the kind of discipline that doesn't always get credit, but makes all the difference over time. So whether you're in the thick of it right now, or you just want to build a deeper well of strength for when it's needed, you're in the right place. So let's talk about stepping into your power. It gets tossed around like it's this bold, badass moment where music swells and lights flash and suddenly you're unstoppable. But in real life, it usually feels more like this weird mix of nausea, self-doubt, and tiny bursts of courage. Power isn't loud. It's not about controlling the room or being the most confident person in it. True power is typically quiet. It's the ability to stay with yourself in moments when it would be easier to disconnect, downplay, or even disappear. Stepping into your power means owning your voice even when it shakes. It's setting boundaries, not for drama, but for clarity. It's choosing to show up fully, even if that's messy, uncertain, figuring it out as you go, and deciding that that's enough. Most of the time, it doesn't feel powerful. It feels like risk. It feels like vulnerability. It feels like saying, "I don't know the outcome, but I'm showing up anyway." And it's not always about big public moments either. Sometimes it's walking away from a toxic dynamic that's been draining you for years, or saying no when you've always been the yes person, or leading a meeting when you know someone in the room is hoping you'll screw it up. Here's the trickiest part. The world rewards performance more than presence. Think about it. There are leaders who dominate a room, who speak in sound bites and charm the cameras. That's performance. Charisma is a skill, sure, but it's not the same as presence. Now think about Barack Obama at his most grounded. The quieter moments, the long pauses before answering a hard question, the willingness to reflect instead of react. It's not about spectacle. It's about staying deeply rooted in who they are, even under pressure. That's presence, and that's where real power lives. Performance can get applause. Presence builds trust. So no, stepping into your power doesn't always feel good at first, but it does get easier. Every time you choose it, it becomes less of a leap and more of a landing. Leadership gets heavy when we think we have to have all the answers. The pressure to be the fixer, the expert, the one who always knows what to do, it's exhausting, and it's not realistic. One of the biggest mindset shifts that keeps leadership sustainable is letting go of the idea that strength equals certainty. It doesn't. Real strength in leadership is the ability to stay curious, to say, I don't know, but I'll find out, to invite input, to admit when something isn't working. That's not weakness, it's clarity. And people trust clarity way more than they trust a polished front. Another shift, stop seeing pressure as a problem. Pressure reveals patterns. It shows you what's working, what's not, and where your growth edge really is. Instead of resisting it, try asking, what is this moment trying to teach me about how I lead? Also, sustainable leadership means recognizing that your energy is a resource, not a renewable one. If you lead like your battery is endless, you'll start resenting the work or the people or both. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're strategic. And finally, here's a big one. Leadership isn't something you earn and then arrive at. It's something you practice every single day. It's a series of choices, some visible, some invisible, that add up to how you lead and how people experience you. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to stay present, stay honest, and keep adjusting. Pressure doesn't always come with warning signs. Sometimes it's the obvious stuff, deadlines and decisions and conflict. Other times it can be subtle. The slow build of stress, the undercurrent of imposter syndrome, the way you start tightening up when you know something's off but you can't name it yet. Emotional endurance is what lets you stay present in those moments instead of bailing out, mentally, emotionally, or even physically. It's not about being unbothered. It's about staying available to yourself, to others, to the truth of what's happening. One of the biggest mistakes we make under pressure is disconnecting from our emotions in the name of being strong. But numbing out isn't strength. It's a short-term fix that eventually costs you even more energy. Endurance means letting yourself feel what's happening without letting it run the show. It's noticing the tight chest, the racing thoughts, the urge to fix or flee, and choosing to stay anyway. This is where leadership really shows up, not in the big decisions, but in the moment between stimulus and response. Can you pause long enough to choose how you want to show up? Barack Obama, calling him back in, had a habit of pausing before he answered tough questions. That pause wasn't for drama. It was for clarity. Emotional endurance lives in that pause, in that breath. It's also worth saying endurance isn't built in the hard moments themselves. It's built in the quiet ones beforehand. The ways you manage stress, the people you lean on. That's the emotional gym. So when the pressure hits, you're not scrambling for a coping strategy. You've already been training. Mental toughness isn't about built-in high-stakes moments. It's built in the small, forgettable ones, when no one's watching and there's no immediate payoff. It's built when you choose to rest before you're already fried, when you say no, even though it would have been easier to say yes, when you keep a promise to yourself, especially when it's tiny and no one else knows about it. We think of toughness as being bold and visible, maybe even dramatic, but real mental strength is often deeply boring. It looks like routines and sleep and journaling and walking away from arguments you know will just spin you out, making decisions from your values, not your moods. It's also about attention. What are you feeding your mind? Who are you spending time with? What voices get a say in how you think about yourself? Mental toughness isn't just about what you do. It's also about what you don't entertain anymore. That inner monologue that says you're not cut out for this, you don't have to argue with it. Just don't let it drive the car. Acknowledge it, then move forward anyway. Building that kind of steadiness is slow, but it is solid. It gives you something to stand on when everything else feels shaky. And the best part? It compounds. The more you practice it, the more natural it will become, until one day you're in a situation that would have rattled you 6 months ago, and you're calm, clear, and making the next right move like it's no big deal. Because by then, it won't be. As an aside, if you're digging this episode, I'd love it if you hit follow or shared it with someone who might need it today. And if this kind of real talk around leadership and resilience resonates with you, stick around. We've got more coming. So let's zoom out for a second. Stepping into your power and building mental toughness aren't two separate journeys. They're different expressions of the same thing, learning to trust yourself when it counts. And that trust doesn't show up all at once. It's built in layers through small decisions, moments of honesty, hard pauses, and the choice to keep showing up even when you're unsure. Leadership isn't about having it all figured out. It's about staying in a relationship with yourself, your values, the people around you, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And mental toughness, it's not just some shield you throw on when life gets rough. It's more like an internal stabilizer, quiet, steady, and built through practice. It's what lets you hold space for discomfort without letting it take over. The big takeaway here is you don't have to wait until you feel 100% ready to lead or until your mindset is perfectly tuned. You start from where you are, you lead as you are, and you keep learning as you go. Some days you'll feel powerful. Other days, not so much. Both are part of the process. What matters is how you respond, not just to the big moments, but to yourself when the moments hit. So yeah, if you've been wondering whether you're really cut out for this, consider this your reminder. The fact that you're even asking that question means you already care enough to lead well, and that's a damn good start. If this episode hit something real for you, I'd love to hear it. You can follow this podcast wherever you're listening, and if you've got a minute to leave a review, it helps more than you know. And if you're already thinking of someone who needed to hear this, go ahead and send it their way. That ripple effect, that's leadership too. Thanks for being here. More soon.